The Democratic National Convention in Chicago began with a big surprise. The woman of the hour, Kamala Harris, appeared on stage 3 days ahead of her planned speech and gushed over her predecessor.
Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
Democrats rallied behind Harris and took potshots at Donald Trump over his politics and his legal troubles.
The truth is, Don, you cannot love this country if you only fight for the wealthy and big business. To love this country is to fight for its people, all people, working people, everyday Americans like bartenders and factory workers and fast food cashiers who punch a clock and are on their feet all day in some of the toughest jobs out there.
One candidate worked at McDonald's while she was in college at an HBCU. HU. The other was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and helped his daddy in the family business. Housing discrimination, that is. She became a career prosecutor while he became a career criminal. With 34 felonies, 2 impeachments, and 1 porn star to prove it.
One of the most poignant moments of the convention was the testimonies of women on the effects of state abortion bans, which was the result of Trump appointing conservative Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade.
Today, because of Donald Trump, more than 1 in 3 women of reproductive age in America lives under an abortion ban. A second Trump term would rip away even more of our rights. Passing a national abortion ban, letting states monitor pregnancies and prosecute doctors, restricting birth control and fertility treatments. We cannot let that happen. We need to vote as if lives depend on it, because they do.
The spotlight was also on Project 25, which Democrats claim is a Republican blueprint for a second Trump term.
This is Project 2025. They went ahead and wrote down all the extreme things that Donald Trump wants to do in the next 4 years. And then they just tweeted it out, putting it out on the internet for everybody to read. So, we read it. And whatever you think it might be, it is so much worse.
Please welcome former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Life came full circle for Hillary Clinton as she took to the podium at the DNC. The former Secretary of State was the first woman ever to clinch a major party nomination for president, but she lost to Trump in 2016.
Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room. We also know, as Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room and stood for America's values. I know what it takes, and I can tell you, as Commander-in-Chief, Kamala won't disrespect our military and our veterans. She reveres our Medal of Honor recipients. She won't be sending love letters to dictators. She will defend democracy and our Constitution and will protect America from enemies, foreign and domestic.
But the Gaza war shadow was well and truly on the DNC, as thousands of protesters marched near the venue of the convention, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and an end to US support for Israel. Several demonstrators were arrested when dozens of them broke through a security fence around the Chicago venue. Later, when Joe Biden was giving his speech, some protesters unfurled a sign that read, "Stop arming Israel." Biden was forced to acknowledge that the protesters have a point and said his administration is working round the clock to secure a ceasefire.
We're working around the clock, my Secretary of State, to prevent a wider war and reunite hostages with their families and surge humanitarian health and food assistance into Gaza now. To end the civilian suffering of the Palestinian people and finally deliver a ceasefire and end this war.
I would like to introduce my father, your 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
But the night belonged to this man. Joe Biden was in tears as he walked on stage to a 4-minute-long ovation. A month ago, most Democrats were clamoring for him to go, but now they were cheering him on and chanting his name. It was not the speech that Joe Biden wanted to give, but nonetheless, he delivered a spirited message of support for Harris while also taking jabs at Trump.
Donald Trump calls America a failing nation. No, I'm serious. But think about this. Think about this. He publicly says to the whole world, I'm going to say something outrageous. I know more foreign leaders by their first names and know them well than anybody alive. Just because I'm so damn old. But I'm not joking. Think of the message he sends around the world when he talks about America being a failing nation. He says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong.
A month after abandoning his re-election bid, Biden's farewell speech at the DNC was a full defense of his presidency and his career, 52 years after being elected to the Senate from Delaware.
I made a lot of mistakes in my career, but I gave my best to you. For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation. And I've been blessed a million times in return with the support of the American people. I've either been too young to be in the Senate because I wasn't 30 yet, and too old to stay as president. But I hope you know how grateful I am to all of you.
Unlike his Oval Office address 4 weeks ago, Biden did not speak directly of passing the torch to a new generation. But as he stood on stage with Kamala Harris, surrounded by his family, the message was clear enough for the Democratic Party and their voters.